It is 1:23 a.m. on April 26, 1986. You are at work, the night shift at reactor number 4. The test your supervisor ordered has been running for less than a minute. And then, something goes wrong. Not a little wrong. Not the kind of wrong you fix with a phone call. The kind of wrong that changes the world forever. And the first thing your government does is tell you to say nothing. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant sat in northern Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union. It was one of the most powerful nuclear facilities in the world. 4 reactors, thousands of workers. And right next door, the city of Pripyat. A modern Soviet city built specifically to house the plant's workers and their families. 50,000 people. Children in schools, families in apartments, a Ferris wheel in the park that had just been built and never once used. Life was completely normal on the night of April 25, 1986. Nobody knew what was coming. The explosion happened because of a safety test, a routine test that the plant director didn't even bother to show up for. Operators disabled critical safety systems to run the simulation properly. Something they had been told was acceptable. At exactly 1:23 and 4 seconds, the reactor lost control. Steam pressure built up so fast, it lifted the 1,000-ton concrete lid off the top of the reactor like a bottle cap. 2 explosions tore through the building. Burning radioactive graphite rained down on the roof of the adjacent reactor. 30 separate fires broke out simultaneously, and the reactor core was now open to the sky, releasing radiation equivalent to 500 Hiroshima bombs directly into the atmosphere. The first men to arrive were the firefighters. They came within minutes. They had no idea what they were walking into. Nobody told them. No protective equipment. No warning about radiation. Driver Grigory Kamel later recalled seeing chunks of glowing graphite scattered across the ground. A colleague picked one up and said it felt hot. Neither of them understood what that meant. They climbed onto the roof of the burning building with no protection at all. Most of those men were dead within weeks. They had walked directly into one of the most radioactive environments in human history, and nobody told them. Inside the plant, the engineer responsible for the night shift was Alexander Akimov, standing in the chaos of the control room. Alarms screaming, his own instruments melting. Akimov made a decision that would cost him his life. He convinced himself the reactor was intact. He told his team the reactor was okay. He sent workers into flooded corridors to manually activate cooling pumps that no longer existed, not knowing they were wading through radioactive water. Akimov spent the next days desperately trying to fix something that could not be fixed before being hospitalized with acute radiation sickness. He died 14 days later. He was doing his job. He was just never told the truth about what had actually happened. While the fires burned, while men were dying, the Soviet government's first instinct was not to help. It was to hide. The KGB began blocking phone calls out of the area within hours of the explosion. Local officials were told to control the narrative. The word was clear from the top. Do not cause panic. Do not tell people what has happened. Do not let this reach the West. And so the 50,000 residents of Pripyat, who were breathing radioactive air with every breath, were told nothing. They went to sleep. They woke up. Their children went to school. Parents pushed babies in strollers through streets that were invisible clouds of radiation. And the government said nothing. It was not until 36 hours after the explosion that the evacuation of Pripyat finally began. 36 hours. In that time, every single person in that city had been breathing contaminated air, drinking contaminated water, living in contaminated homes. When the evacuation finally came, they were given 50 minutes to leave. 50 minutes to pack a bag. They were told it was temporary. They were told they would be back in 3 days. Most of them never came back at all. They left everything behind. Photographs on walls, food on tables, children's toys on floors, an entire city, frozen in a single moment and abandoned forever. But the cover-up didn't end with the evacuation. On May 1st, 5 days after the explosion, Soviet officials refused to cancel the May Day parade in Kiev, a city of millions, just 80 miles from the burning reactor. Children marched through the streets, families lined the parade route, and the government knew radiation levels in Kiev were dangerously elevated. They knew, and they said nothing, because canceling the parade would mean admitting the truth, and admitting the truth was the one thing the Soviet government could not do. Then came the liquidators. Over 600,000 men, soldiers, miners, workers, conscripts, were sent to Chernobyl to clean up the disaster. Most of them were told almost nothing about what they were walking into. They were given lead aprons 2 to 4 millimeters thick, barely enough protection for a dental X-ray, and sent onto the roof of the most radioactive building on Earth to shovel burning graphite by hand. Each man was allowed just 90 seconds on the roof before being rotated out. 90 seconds, because any longer meant a lethal dose of radiation. Miners dug tunnels beneath the reactor by hand in extraordinary radioactive conditions, because using pneumatic drills might disturb the foundations. These men were heroes, and they were sent in without being told the full truth of what they were facing. The Soviet government had known about safety issues at Chernobyl long before the explosion. KGB archives later revealed that 4 separate incidents had occurred at the plant in 1984 alone, 2 years before the disaster. A year before the explosion, Moscow had been warned that Chernobyl was one of the most dangerous nuclear plants in the USSR due to lack of safety equipment. That information was classified, hidden from the public, hidden from the workers at the plant, hidden from the 50,000 people living in Pripyat. They were living next to a known danger, and nobody told them. The world only found out because of a man's shoes. On April 28th, 2 days after the explosion, a worker at the Forsmark nuclear power plant in Sweden set off the radiation alarm when scanning his shoes, as was routine procedure when entering or leaving the facility. The plant was immediately evacuated. Swedish scientists determined the radiation was coming from the east, from the Soviet Union. They pressed Moscow for an explanation, and only then, only because a worker in Sweden had walked through the wrong door, did the Soviet government finally admit that something had happened at Chernobyl. The true death toll of Chernobyl has never been established. The Soviet government officially recorded 31 direct deaths. 31. But 600,000 liquidators were exposed to dangerous radiation levels. The Chernobyl Union Advocacy Group estimates that 90,000 of the 200,000 surviving liquidators have major long-term health problems. Other researchers estimate the total death toll, including long-term cancer deaths, could be anywhere from thousands to 100,000 people. The Soviet government destroyed records, reclassified causes of death, told liquidators their health problems were from stress, not radiation. Men who had walked onto that roof with nothing but a lead apron were told their cancer had nothing to do with Chernobyl. The lie continued long after the fire was out. Chernobyl did not just destroy a reactor, it destroyed the credibility of the Soviet government. The cover-up, the lies, the parade in Kiev while children breathed radioactive air. These were the moments when ordinary Soviet citizens finally understood what their government was capable of. Historians today argue that Chernobyl was one of the critical events that led to the collapse of the Soviet Union just 5 years later. The men who were ordered to stay silent, the men who were sent onto that roof without being told the truth, the 50,000 people who were given 50 minutes to leave their lives behind. They deserved better. They all deserved better. and the world needed to know. Subscribe to CH Stories, because the truth, no matter how long it's buried, always finds a way out.